Oh, we have that link in our chat, right? Our private chat.
Mhm.
So Don ended up and Travis with a really difficult situation. And what that situation is that they got hacked. When they got hacked, basically what started happening for Don. Oh, hi there, Sunshine Girl. And I believe Travis. Find your site. Is it still showing it on your site?
I was
Oh.
maybe nothing.
Nothing? All right, let's go to his domains. I'm in his account right now. So that's what Don gets at his site right now. How many of you can recall? Are you getting the same thing, Travis?
Yeah.
All right. How many of you can recall what, 2 weeks ago, I think, we started finding files on Don's site? And they were just like weird names and had weird code inside them and things like that. And so essentially what happened is somebody was, I believe, relaying off of his site and probably off of Travis's, where they set up some executable scripts, and it looked like, honestly, at least in Don's, he had that folder full of like payment scripts. So it looked like somebody was trying to transfer funds against your server, is what it looked like. Unfortunately, now there's this long and tedious process that he has to go through. To get his site taken care of. And I believe it's just Chrome doing this. Did you try any other browsers?
No, I didn't know.
So it's happening here. So it's actually happening in your DNS, I believe. I believe that when you got blacklisted, it updated routing tables. And we need Google to flip-flop that. We need that process to flip-flop it. So he's begun this process so that you're aware. Where what we had to do, oh, Don, I think I logged in under a different, let me see, is essentially go out.
Yeah, I just used Edge. It went in.
It went right in?
It's in the inside out. It's like,
Well, that's good. That might be progress. Do you know what I mean? Try, actually, Slack your link out. Everybody, if you don't mind, try going to his link. So one of the first steps he had to do was verify his site. And a lot of times, verification can fall in two ways for you. And the first one is through your actual code. Meaning, I hope I didn't end up, that'll create a whole nother layer of complexity, damn it. Are you kidding me?
I worked on Internet Explorer and Firefox.
But not on Chrome.
Chrome.
So it's a fight with, so it's the Chrome battle that you're in the middle of. He's waiting, right now we're waiting for a response. But what happened was they said, hey, we need you to verify your site. We need to know that, you have access to this site before we can even begin to work with you. And so one of the things that they wanted done was they wanted site verification. Sometimes Google offers it in two ways, but it's a stronger verification to do it through DNS, right? The other way is tag. They want to see that you're able to get into that site, manipulate the code, and if you can manipulate the code, you obviously have access to the site, and therefore you're good. If you can manipulate the DNS, you obviously have access. And it's stronger because it's always there, right? You don't have to go put this verification in every one of your pages now. So Don's like, I don't know if I want to do this, right?
I'm afraid, well, you just said you were afraid you're going to make another layer of complexity.
Yep.
And that was my concern. I screwed something up and you're going, Don, if you did that, I can't,
I can't help you.
Yeah.
So what they asked is they basically said, we go make a text record in your DNS. And so what that text record does is essentially just puts information, in this case, a validation key for Google to read. But it puts it even before it hits your code, which is good, right? And before I did that, Travis, I verified through help desk ticket, by the way. Before I go there, one of the first things I did is I went in and I looked. Actually, let me go back there and then I'll show you. I'm pretty confident with this. It doesn't scare me. We could set name servers. We don't want to mess with name servers. Name servers essentially are, if you're moving from Agabus to GoDaddy and you want to redirect your traffic to the GoDaddy server, right, away from the Agabus server, that you go in there and you manipulate that. And to be honest with you, you don't even do that. You put in a request for a transfer and let the authorities handle that. But sometimes we need to get in DNS records. And by clicking on DNS servers and settings, we can come down here and we can see that we have our DNS records. The one that I had mostly in question yesterday, and we can see it here, is this text record for Supreme Box. It just kind of bothered me. I'm not used to seeing it. Wasn't sure what it was. And so as you can see, before I did anything, I stopped. This is one of those times where you want to move slowly, right? I stopped. And by the way, I closed my ticket when I was done. And I came in and I mentioned to them, right, that, I see this record in here. I'm not sure about it, blah, blah, blah. And of course, they replied with, you're good. But the point I'm trying to make is sometimes, even though you're aggressive and you want to get things resolved, move very slowly right now, because DNS is something that the more you stir it, the cloudier the water gets, the harder it is to see, the longer you have to wait. right? So slow steps. Also, right, I just want to point out, always be super nice, right, to these people. They're great. They respond great. Always make sure that you include details about the information that you're submitting, because they're just going to come back to you and say, quit wasting my time. Like, give me information. So anyway, we got the clear there. So I came out and I went to edit DNS records. If I come in here, now if you have multiple subdomains and domains, each subdomain and domain has a DNS record associated with it, has records associated with it. Right now, Don's wiped everything out. So all he has is his primary domain, which is fine. And that's probably good. Less to deal with, right? When you come in here and you start looking at your records, it can feel a little overwhelming. It can be a little scary. Not sure why 5X is still in here if you wiped it out. Well, no, that's
there's
sub.
actually the files. Right before you, the other day, I recovered the files, because they said you could recover the files. I did that, but I didn't redo the domain. I tried to do the domain and it said the domain's there, but then it wasn't.
So I think that might be because of this, to be honest with you. It sees it as there.
Really, 5XX is all that I need right now anymore.
So submit a ticket then, telling them, right, that you're unable to create the 5XX subdomain. You're not sure why, but you saw that it appears to still have records in the DNS. What should I do?
Yeah, I was going to go back and delete all the records again and try to.
What do you mean delete all the records?
If you go over to files.
Yeah, no. Okay, no, but I'm saying to you, I'm telling you, because probably what's happening is you're saying create this subdomain. It's going through its process. I'm not saying this is what's happening. I'm taking a guess. But you're saying create the subdomain. It's going to create it. It's going to create these DNS records, and they're there. And it's like, well, what the hell? I'm getting confused. I don't want to assume that I'm right. You need to submit a ticket on that. Fair enough? Some of these things, I can't even tell you what they are. But what I can tell you is this. If you look here, you can always see, right? That's your IP address, your A record. That's where that domain is right, resolving to. Does anybody know what MX records are? Pretty important one. Your MX records. So let's say you decide that you're going to use Microsoft 365. And you're going to start, you want all your email to be routed through there. So what would happen is Microsoft will give you these MX1, MX2, right? And so what that'll do is point all email associated with this server to their servers. And that's how you reroute. If you were going to use Google Apps for a company or something, or yourself, and you wanted all your mail to go through Google, Google will give you MX records. That's all, right? These are your name servers. Your name servers, essentially, DNS1, DNS2, DNS3, DNS4, they are registered with, basically, they're out there. They're propagated, right? And they all point back to this server. And we have 4 of them out there because, right, not even fault tolerance, but just making sure that we have that distributed fail record in there, things like that. And those are the ones you want to focus on. We came down here, and this is what Google asked us to add in. They wanted a Google site verification, and then they provided a key along with it, and they wanted this put in there. And that originated from And I feel like we went down the right road. But the problem with this is not something you do often. And so therefore, if there's not like a clear path, you know what I mean? You could be walking down the wrong road for a while only to learn that you should have been doing something else. So I've been trying to revisit this. This morning, I concluded that I think we are on a good path. But Don and Travis need to continuously be following up. See, we're still showing up as unsafe. Try to trick visitors into sharing personal information and downloading software. What you should do, don't panic. Protect yourself. Get help.
Now I've changed my password. I had a what you call it, create a new one, 16-bit, totally random.
Yeah. So, Travis, anybody, this is where you want to start. And so it basically kind of walks you through this process half-assedly. In my opinion, they could do a better job. But it helps you figure out right where you got to go.
I think it points and talks like, okay, you don't know, you don't have that much experience, here's how you do it.
Yeah.
But then you get to the end and you're going, damn, I have more experience than some of those people they're talking about, and I have no idea
What's going on?
So if you had less than I would have, I don't know how this gets you where you need to go.
Yep. And so we registered a site in his security.
That's another question I have. Can I just log into my Google account?
You should be able to,
Do
yes.
I need to log into a Google account attached to that website?
Well, you need it to be attached to the website. And so one of the things I fear is that I might have hopped in here to help you
Attached to yours?
and attach it to mine. Yeah, because they're telling me I'm the official owner. Why are they telling me I'm the official owner of Instinctware? Super weird. So anyway, the big thing, I don't want to spend all class on this, but the big thing that I want you to be aware of is when you're given a key, there's two things that you should know. When you add a key into your DNS, right? First thing you should do is go test after you put it in. Second thing, don't be too scared. Because if it wasn't there and you put it in and it screwed things up, you can remove it. Period.
You said test it. How would you?
Well, in our case, we really don't know. Right? In our case, we still got the red screen. So nothing changed.
And they said in the literature, this could be a couple hours or this could be a couple days.
Yep. Which is why what sucks is we kind of just have to sit and wait.
And periodically go out and
Check. Yep. I would think that at this point, though, it's a good sign if we're pulling it up in Firefox. See, I can't get it. You guys said you tried Edge as well?
I try to.
So it came up for me in Edge. Well, you could start working in Edge until it comes up. Do you know what I mean? Like just to stay on things. And we'll keep checking back. Questions? right.
I'm able to get to it on Firefox.
You are.
Yeah.
Yeah, I am too.
So that's the other thing, right? Propagation, meaning your browser doesn't go out and check every time, if it, right? You know what I mean? It gets a piece of information and it keeps it and says, so my browser might need to update yet. Like maybe the process is happening in my browser. More realistically, maybe the process is happening. And for some reason, which doesn't make sense to me, right? Because maybe we're going through two different networks, maybe not. But the point is the router you're hitting, it might have already cleared on the router I'm hitting saying no. Like it's still a bad site. Does that make sense what I'm saying?
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you, by the way.
Yep. Why is coming up? How many of you have this happen? I hate when this happens. You have to move it back into your window. Does anybody ever deal with this?
Mm-hmm.
Hate it. Especially when you're multi-monitor, a lot of times an application will end up off the window after you unplug. It's a pain.
So when you go to close, and you know you're gonna go to one monitor, you gotta bring it back, attach it to the screen and then close it.
Drives you
Don't close it,
nuts.
then you get a second screen because it's a pain in the butt to bring back. I looked it up, there's like 2 or 3 ways with different key strokes you can do, and then you drag it in like you did.
All right. Let's start getting content over to our sites. So I'm going to go localhost. So at this point, everybody should be having content come over to their site. Am I correct? Yes or no? From their WordPress site. Correct? Anybody not? Both of you, do you have your 5xx stuff local?
Yeah, and what I did is I made files for that so I can copy the content over to the WordPress site when I got it up and running.
All right, well, here's what I'm going to do for you. Both of you have your Ajax in?
Yes.
Use my site for now. As a matter of fact, trying to think of how I want to do this. So you can enter content as well. Do me a favor, both of you go. I'm going to try something real quick to get you off and going. If you're not getting your content in or whatever, start working on, right? What you want, well, I help them out. What you want is essentially to get this to a point that you're putting getting content in it that you could actually confidently use the site. That's what our goal is here. I want to get them going real quick. I have an error on mine. I'm not sure what it is. Not worried about it right now. I'm going in. I'm going to go to tools. As you want to watch what I'm going to do, that's good and fine. I'm going to go to tools. I think. Maybe I'm not. Posts. Pages.
In those files that I put in there, I started changing the content and putting in like my education and stuff like that in those cards. So when I copied it over to have some content.
Okay, well, hang on. I'm going to give you a place to put that content. I think I want to go in here as B Savage. There we go. I was wondering where my tools were. I'm going to go to export. I'm going to go to pages. And I'm going to download my export file. I'm going to open up my XML file in Notepad++. Right, and these are the things, by the way, what I'm doing right now, and I'm not saying I'm going to do it successfully, but I'm going to try like hell. These are the things where, I mean, these are cash moments, you know, like these are times where someone will call you and they're like, oh my God, I need these pages over here. I need this, I need that, I need, right? And you're able to understand how you can import and export data. And when you can import and export the data, it becomes a beautiful thing, right? It really does, because you're saving people. What I'm trying to do to remedy for Don and Travis right now is give them a place that they can work. Well, the nice thing that I can do is I can come in here and I can find my pages. Like there's my contact, right? And I was really hoping for, to be honest with you, I was really hoping for a CSV, but I guess I'm going to have to be happy with this and shut up. I don't have to be happy with it, but I got to shut up and just use it. So what I'll do is I'll come in here. This is our class demo one. I don't like that. I'm not comfortable with messing with that at the moment. So I'm going to use all export, new export. This is a plugin. I was hoping I could just do it default, but it's going to take too much work through the default export. I put a plugin in called all export. Everyone's making their calls and getting their data across. Need to see why I'm getting an error. While that's loading up. So it's telling me validator. I don't see it there. Scrolling. It's going to go through. That's interesting. App.js line 45. Start scroll. That's probably why.
Mine doesn't have the $sign in the.
Yeah, do you have jQuery at the end? Why is this now loading? There we go. Pages. Custom export file. Migrate pages. Add filtering options. 48 pages will be exported. I think what we want is title equals does it have parent? That's what I really want. Parent. See if that works. Parent equals. I'm checking the migrate to see if it gives me a copy option because that's what I'd like to do for them. Not what I wanted. See how it's giving me fields and everything that I could do. I just want, can you just make this easy on me? Pages, shut up, Don.
That you're trying to be funny.
I know, it can never be just freaking easy, can it?
They never make it easy.
At this point, while I'm doing this, is there anybody that needs help that's not getting content or not able to move forward or need direction? And if you need help on something and you're waiting, you know what? Pages. On. Would you say people call you Trevor?
Just one people.
One person just called me Trevor.
He prefers Patrick.
Yeah, people call me Patrick.
All right.
Some call me Little Amish Boy.
Don, I'm creating a user for you with DON. DON at juan.com. Don't mess with my crap. Let's go back to Don real quick. Dang. Don, your password is going to be let me in. All lowercase. No spaces. Same for you, Trevor.
Yeah.
You have to create your user yet. And it's at me.insideoutproject.com. Please do not mistake me trying to help you out as me liking you. Travis. Travis at trit.com. Maybe you guys know about Peanut. Anybody? Nobody knows Peanut?
Like the Jeff Dunham.
Jeff Dunham, yes.
Yeah.
That's good stuff. All right, you two go in and start creating your pages. Use your name page as the root, right? So Don, you'll build all your pages under Don. Travis, you'll build them all under Travis. That's the ID, the parent ID that you're going to go after and pull it off of here. So you can start building your content from here, and then we can just transfer it over.
And project. Say the site is project
me.insideoutproject.com. All right. So I have to check this error real quick, see what I got going on here. Don't quite understand what happened there. Not in the mood to troubleshoot. So let's just nip it in the butt. Stole my code from my site. Are you, set timeout. Scroll, start scroll. Start scroll. Set timeout, start scroll. Save. Oh, you really got to be kidding me. You're welcome, Stacy Andrews. Not quite sure why I'm erroring out on there. I really don't want to chase issues. Unexpected token. Scrolling nav 29. Oh, see, this is the danger. The reason I'm not seeing anything get fixed, not saying I fixed it, but it's fixed. Why? Why was that happening? Anybody know?
Page override. You were overriding from the old.
I was overriding my pages. So the big thing, we started putting components in that we want to use, right? I'm missing my image up here. That's fine. I'm aware of that, and I will go fix that. It's not worth the time right now. I'm putting basically a image somewhere of myself in my about myself page, and I want to make sure that I have all the pieces that I think that I want, and I've done that through WordPress. Is everybody there with me? Then I'm going to go to experience, and we went ahead and we put cards in there, right? And our cards, of course, we can work on them a little bit as far as things go. But at this point, let's just make sure we have content. Education, got cheap and used more cards. Skills, got a little creative, stole some stuff from Bootstrap, Bootsnip in 3D Zen, and right, and that's kind of fun. And we have some alignment issues that we got to work on. But right now, let's get our content in, right? Let's worry about our content, and then let's worry about our interests. We thought we would give these things a shot and be creative. Those of you who went along, so we'll leave them in for now, and we'll work on them, and then we'll change them later. Awards, everybody should have awards in to some degree. And then last but least, our contact form. I sent out a contact form last class for everybody. How hopefully people copied that? Yes, no? Is there anybody who did not get the form that I sent out?
Yeah, I did.
You put that on Slack, right?
Yep.
I went through Slack trying to copy everything in where it was supposed to be.
All right. So let me go grab that a while.
Okay.
You and your index, HTML.
I think it's on,
Oh, it's in WordPress.
yeah, I think it's on Slack on the 23rd. Right before Jimmy.
So right here it is.
Untitled, toward the bottom where Jimmy says contact.
Here, I'm just putting it back out there.
Gotcha.
Don't overcomplicate it. 240. Just want to double check. I haven't looked at the form in a while. I want to make sure that it's working. We get that message of thank you. I will get back to you soon. And yay. Can't believe it actually worked first try. I'm like almost blown away. I know that sounds horrible. I haven't touched it in a long time. Okay. So I'm going to go grab this form for us. The PHP.
That's sending out to your site, though, right? Yeah, change that.
Right. Right. I'm grabbing you the PHP now. Actually, let's. I had no idea what they were getting into when they told me I could use unlimited subdomains. Contact form coming up. So if you download that and extract it, I'm going to make a copy of what's right. Go inside the assets and you'll see contact form. not exactly the ideal place for inside of assets, but we're going to go ahead and stick with that for now. We'll go into our HT docs. We'll paste it inside our assets form. I mean, our assets. And we should see our new files out there now. So our first one, if you notice, right, is a JS file in there. And we want to pay attention to the fact that we're calling out IDs using jQuery. So the ID, right, for contact form, what you want to make sure of is that it coincides with what you have inside of WordPress.
Where are we saving that contact form to?
What's that?
Where are we?
Your assets folder. You're saving the contact form folder. Right? So you'll extract it, you'll go in, then you'll go in the assets folder and you'll copy. There's a contact form folder in there. How many of you are with me or need me to stop? Everybody has the contact forms folder and assets yet? Anybody does not? Okay, it's all right to say I don't. Why do you have to redo it?
Because I copied that whole folder, contact form, over into assets, right? Now
So,
it's assets folder, contact forms folder, assets folder.
okay, all right, do it. While we're waiting, those of you that are in here, you know, it should look like assets, contact form. Inside there, you'll come to your contact.js file. In your contact.js file, you're going to want to change this address. And of course, it would just be to your 5xx dot your domain. And if you're staying consistent with what I'm doing, we honestly probably wouldn't do it this way, but it's how it's set up on 504. So does anybody need help? I want your contact form working before we leave. You got it? Got it, Jason?
No, it gives me error when I try to open it.
What do you
Oh, I'm not trying to open it. Okay. I double clicked on it, figuring it.
No. Open it in your.
Yeah.
So there's two things that you could do here, right? You can change your address here, is the first thing you could do. We're going to press it a little. We're not going to try to work past this. So if you want to press things a little, if you watch over here, we know that that address is in JavaScript, right? If I say window dot location, look at the information that I get here. Can you see that? It's default JavaScript, right? That is not going to fail on any browser. Window.location.href gives me full path of the server I'm on, plus a slash. So think about what I'm saying to you. I'm on here on 504, right? If I come over here to File Manager, we see we're on there, right? And I inspect. Gives me that. The point I'm trying to drive at is that we can go ahead and hard code in there, right, what we want. But the thing that's most important to pay attention to is that if we take something like host and we see that host is just like that, and then we take here's what I want, protocol. And that produces HTTPS. Where am I going with this? Anybody?
Dynamically,
Think like,
dynamically changes.
okay, right? So think like a programmer, right? A programmer doesn't want to have to, you're going to want to, right? You're going to want to reuse these scripts over and over and over again, correct? So we know we always want to be HTTPS. So we could say that we always want to point to protocol, and then we always want to point to host name, and we could build it that way, our host, right? Another thing we could do is we could use origin. And what I mean by that is if we come up here and we put window location dot origin, it's always going to produce that string, right? Whether we're on rack instructor portal, doesn't matter what the rest of our path is up here, right? It's just giving us that. So no matter where we go, our results are always going to be, right, pointing out. And so what I'm suggesting you consider doing is instead of updating this and fixing it, what I'm suggesting that you do, and I'm going to change my double quotes to single quotes, by the way. I don't know where I picked up these bad habits at. Man, it's fun. I'm going to stick this in here with a plus. And what's nice about that is I know, right? I know from now on, I'm safe. If I move this somewhere else, as long as I don't change my file structure, I'm good. Does that make sense what I'm saying? So I could save that. And now, if I were to come out and look at this file, right, use this file on my local host, it will actually try to go to my local host. Don't know if it'll work. Might not. Forum origin, local host. So, where did that problem come from? Can anybody tell me?
I thought it's because we were on the local host, but it should still work.
So, if we come down through and we want to look at everything, nothing in here. This should just be processing on localhost, right? As PHP. My validator is working well. Where do you think my problem is? I don't see anything in here pointing to anything. That's just doing the validations on our form, by the way. And be a great thing to go in there. Point I want to drive at is make sure that you go over here and you look at this. And there's a couple ways that we can take care of this, by the way. The first one is we could just say, pull out the location, the origin, right? The domain name and things like that. And this should work. I'm going to test it before I push you too far that way. Same thing should work here, wouldn't you think? And the same thing should work here. If I update it, at this point, I'm not pointing to any specific domain. And as a matter of fact, let's go ahead and try and make it across the board like that and see what happens. Ain't gonna work though. I'm pretty sure that won't work, but I'll try it that way. Actually, I'm gonna leave that in. We'll try it. We'll see if it works, and then I'm pretty sure we need the JavaScript we need because we're doing this AJAX call and we're telling it to go out. It's not going to assume that it's going to itself.
It was the problem that you had the domain in twice,
Um,
that you were looking for the origin and then you had the domain after that, or no?
what do you mean?
Like you took the domain out of the code,
Mm-hmm.
host out of the code.
Right.
I'm not sure why.
Because if I move these files to travis.poo.com, right? I don't want to have to come in and edit these files every time. That was the point of going to different sites and saying, look at what window.location.origin produces.
Yeah, but in WordPress, I mean, like why did you take it out of WordPress?
Because WordPress is coming off of HTML in here. And so therefore, if it doesn't have an origin specified, it picks it up from above. Does that make sense?
What was the problem though?
I'm confused.
Was the problem that
It was pointing to 504 and it was trying to go from localhost. And trying to go to 504 from localhost is cross-domain origin. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
All right, now I see what you're asking. I'm thinking, what are you asking me? I'm like, let me hide some of this noise real quick. Never threw that CSS over last week. That's all right. There we go. I just put the hide back on my section so it wasn't bleeding down into here. So there we got a access error. And again, because somewhere it's picking up step 504, and that's probably, unfortunately, because these damn overrides piss me off. I love them and I hate them. Give it a shot again. Inspect, make sure these are off. Get out of there. Try it one more time. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of the overflow. And the sections in here. So I don't have to look at them. Refresh. See on my validator. Got angry. Access to localhost. Request that. So somewhere. Oh, and that's where. Do you know where I'm picking it up? Inspect. Where do you think I'm picking it up? I'm pulling it from WordPress, right? It's actually picking it up where I removed those domains. It's actually picking it up before. So it's processing the HTML. It's putting the value up there first and then transmitting it out to our site. And so there's a couple ways I can handle that, right? If I want to leave that because WordPress, I want to use it there too. What's one way that I can handle that? I'm doing an AJAX call, right? Correct? In my app.js, we're calling out, we're getting that content back. We're updating the page with the HTML. Anybody have any thoughts how, without changing it on WordPress, how I might decide to address this?
Submit the call for when you do the JS, but I think that's a whole lot of code to say, I don't want that information.
Right, and we kind of want that information, don't we? I mean, we don't want that specific address, but we need a call to action, correct?
Right, and then you're gonna probably do a lot of code to omit what you don't want.
So I'll keep it short and show you. And if you need help, I'll stay after if anybody wants help to get any of this done. Because it's sitting on my actually sitting on my me site. So at this point, kind of a bad argument, right? You know what I mean? But let's just say I want that to stay wherever I'm pulling this from. I don't want to change that. But what I do know is that I have this ID of contact form. And after it inserts in there, right? Shouldn't I be able to go going after the contact form, right? I'm going after an attribute. So with jQuery, what's cool is I can take that attribute, and the attribute I'm going after is action, correct? But I should be able to go, I think if I do it like this, I could be wrong. Action, comma. And what's really funny, I'm using depends on my load order, but I might actually consider, because I'm using up here, I'm going after this URL address, right? When I refactor, I'll remind myself that I came in and I did exactly what I'm doing right now, and probably create a global at the very top that says this is the URL to write assets folder or URL to contact form kind of thing and append it there. But for now, what I'll do is I'll just come over here, go down to my AJAX call. This is after this. I'm saying, hey, contact form, attribute, action. I want it to equal contact.php, contact.php. And so what should happen here, I'm lucky. We'll do it like this so you can see. So let's do it the right way. Let's do it JavaScript developers way. Let's refresh it. Let's go into our app.js. Let's stop it here. Let's stop it here, right? So by clicking on these numbers, what we're doing is we're telling it to pause for a minute. Before you do anything else, just stop what you're doing and let me, walk through this. Pause on exceptions. I have that highlighted now. Are you really going to fight me? Play. Oh, there's a couple exceptions in Grammarly. Isn't that beautiful? Thank you, Grammarly. Love it. We're trying to get the R code. It'll show us R code in a minute. H1JS. Come on. Let me see if I can redo this and take it off of paused on caught reset. Because I think it's trying to do it on all. Stop. Oh, you got to be kidding me. Chrome is just not making me happy these days. It locked up on me. Thank you. Inspect. Sources. Get rid of these. Come into my all right. Now, hopefully this time, it's only going to pause on these two, my 2 breakpoints. Hopefully. Let's see. So it stopped here. It didn't. These should be giving us breakpoints in here, and they're not. There we go. app.js 34, 35, 36. That is not app.js 34, 35, 36. So my Chrome is being assy on me. Let's come over to console. App 36. Let's get rid of that. Semicolon inside there. I think that might have. There we go. So we're holding at 34. If we were to go out, I believe it'll let us do this. If we were to go out at this point and we looked in main, we could see our sections have all been put there. Our contact is there. Our container is there. Our row is there. We're trying to get to our column. It has not injected, right? Hasn't injected our content that we pulled back yet. So I'll go back over to sources. I don't even think I have to. I think I can stay in elements. I can hit to play to the next stop. It's stopping here now. So I believe we still have the content that our static content that was in. So now if we hit play, it should have injected our content in at this point. So if we scroll down, we can see it did inject our content, right? We look under contact. We're looking for our form. There's our form. There's what we're looking for, right? So right there is the action. If I wrote my jQuery right, that's the trick. If I wrote it right, it should update that. And if you saw, it did. With one line of code, right? We just made it so that we can leave the form that's on WordPress that we have sitting there stay relative to where it is. But yet, anywhere that we place this script now will take on the window. Does that make sense? And therefore, I'm not saying the form's going to work because we're on localhost, right? But therefore, theoretically, so my localhost is not set up to send emails. But what I do know is that I'm good at this point.
You basically made that code so you can reuse it, correct?
Yes, you make it so that you can reuse it. That's the whole idea, is you make it so that, right, as it goes through the code itself, if you pull it somewhere else, you can, right, you can reuse that code. I need to set up my local to do email. I don't have my WAMP server set up. You can run SMTP through your WAMP server and you can work on it that way. But you should be able to, right, start pulling your content in and using your content. Why my style didn't apply there, I'm not sure. Section, overflow. See you, John. You can go if you want. Trying to work to the capacity in the classroom and using the overrides is proving to actually be more detrimental than helpful. When I'm coding and I want that real time and I'm playing with it, for the most part, I hardly ever have an issue. Almost never have an issue. But I think it's because I'm more in control of, to be honest with you, I'm not counting on the overrides. A lot of times what I'm doing is making changes, taking the override file, copying out of it, pasting it into my, and then letting it over, you know what I mean? Just keep going back and forth with it. Take these breakpoints off. Does anybody want or need help?
I'll go back to the video and catch everything up. Because I got to rebuild everything anyways. You lost me a ways back. I was trying to get done what I could, but I'm not the fastest typer. To make my daughter come here and do typing for me.
I don't understand why that CSS is not applying out there.
If that trained her, but that didn't train herself.
Well, I think I can if you want, I think I can get a video of that one. Like instead of just trying to use the YouTube, I think I could go home and sit down. I did a little reconfiguring in there, but I really want you to have your form working. If nothing else, to be able to take it and replicate it and use it over and over again. That I think I don't know. I think it's really important, especially beginning developers, to have a form that they know works. So that as you move from site to site, worst case scenario, you always fall back on that form. At least I know I did for years. You know what I mean? Like I had this one form that I just used and used and used. And what's cool is I wish I could find it, because as you evolve, that form evolves, you know, and like your validations become really complex. And this one I stole and I like it. And I've used it a couple times now. I hate that I lost some of the code from back in the day. It's funny, I have a bunch of emails. As you can see, even though I got cross domain errors, it still made it there. And so the PHP picked it up and processed it. But it doesn't allow it to look pretty. So I definitely think that what I can do is, for this part, make that video. I know I can make the time to do that. Basically, starting from, here's a folder with the files in it. Let's go ahead and put it in. Fair enough?
Travis and I are gonna be busy going back and rebuilding as it is right now. That's what
Yeah.
Ron will be doing that tonight and tomorrow.
Well, I would just go fundamentally, get this content in so you can start manipulating and playing with it, right? But just take it out of my pages. You're in my server. Take it out of my pages and bump it over. Just because I'd rather see you start to get your LinkedIn profile in there, things like that. I'd rather start to see you get stuff in. That's what I'd like to see. Your schools in here. Start actually get your education.
And I think I have most of the code already in here, so I think I can.
That's even better yet, right?
And then
I just don't want you having to chase around and look for,
I already have like my schooling. I already have that in there.
That's awesome.
So if I can copy and paste and see if that works, then I'm good to go.
Yeah.
Then I can move forward. If I can't, that's where I go back to your code and say, okay, what did I miss?
Or where do I just fill in?
You're doing stuff and I'm trying to type in, and you can say something and I didn't hear shit.
Mm-hmm. No, I get it. And honestly, what I'd rather see, which frustrates me, it's been a rough semester. I don't know if teaching is ever going to get easy. I feel like instead of getting better, I get worse every semester. It drives me nuts. But ultimately, the goal of this project site, right, is so we put these in statically, then we put them in through WordPress through a page. But the real idea is to get these should each be a post. So it's kind of working to the pieces. You know what I mean? The other one, there's 2 videos that I want to make come hell or high water by the end of this week for you guys to have. And the first one, it wasn't the first one, but it's kind of just as important. So I'm not going to say which one's more important, but to have you have this working. And then secondly, so in our index.html file, right, if I go in here and I say packages preview, it's going to, maybe it won't. Hopefully it doesn't fire off JavaScript. It did. But that initial content that's in there, right? There's, I think, total 14 lines of PHP that I want to introduce you to. And what that does is every time you get that successful call to your WordPress website, it takes a copy of what it's getting and creates a static copy of it. So that's your starting line, right? And then if you take that a step further, and we're talking another 6 lines of JavaScript, that's how little to do this, but it's an amazing, right? It positions you well. So right now, when you do that page caching thing that I'm talking about, right? That happens when you go to the site and you look at it. Well, that's kind of cool, but now we're playing this game of we can set the cache, as I'll show you, we can set the cache to every 5 days recache. Otherwise, just give them the static page. Well, what makes even more sense is if you're in there and you change a page, right? And you click save, that it goes out and recaches the page. So if you don't change the page for a year, that static page is sitting there for a year and it's the most current copy of your page, right?
Proactive versus reactive.
Proactive versus reactive. And to show you how simple that happens, and those of you who want to go, you can. I'm always willing to have a conversation about this crap. Maybe I should stop there.